Hey everybody, here is part one of our 5-step process to purchasing your home. So let's get into it. I always think the best place to start this is to get some clarity and knowing whether you should buy or not, because it does not suit everybody. I won't go into my personal views on that. I'm going to go through it, but it's really, really important that you do have that clarity before you go into the process, because nobody said that buying a home is easy. It's not, and there are sacrifices to be made. So you really want to be clear that this is the right thing for you to do. So the question is where we're starting today, and that's the should I buy or not? And then we'll go into the other parts of the program as we go through the videos over the next few days. Now, I'll just move that camera a little bit. Sorry about that. So from a very, analytical numbers point of view, should you buy? Over time, it's pretty straightforward, to be honest, from a financial point of view. Property ownership, it starts off being more difficult. There's no doubt the first few years of having your mortgage are the most difficult years of your mortgage, and then after that it eases over time. Essentially, I'm not going to read through all of these points, but your mortgage stays the same. Sure, interest rates do impact that, but assuming, which is most times throughout your mortgage, believe it or not, that your interest rates are pretty stable, then they do stay the same. Once you've paid off your mortgage, that you're over and out, then it's all done. And obviously you're paying for an asset that does rise over time. If you're renting, which is really the only viable alternative for 90% plus of us, it's something that you've got to realise is that rent does rise over each year, and we're definitely seeing that at the moment. It goes on forever, so I just shudder at the thought of when I look at just stats generally, how many people are sort of in their late 40s and 50s and are still renting. Put yourself in that sort of position and think, gee, imagine if I've got a rent and I've got another 30 years to live. You're certainly going to work that long, hopefully, and so that rent cost just continues. By then your mortgage will be well paid off, and it's just not it's not adding to your wealth, so it's not it's just an expense. You're paying for a roof over your head, basically. All right, so that's enough detail on that. I guess for me as well, though, there's a whole thing that I don't want to sort of press on this too much, but I get some wonderful quotes and wonderful stories from our nurses in terms of those that have bought, and years down the track it's the best thing we ever did, and it's so much easier now and all of that sort of thing. So it gives you all this sort of life choices, and all I did here, obviously, here is just put up some clients that we've worked with, just at that proud moment. And of course it's a proud moment when you buy, but to me the real test is further down the track. And I guess one nurse summarised it really well to me recently. She said it's so nice just to get back from a double shift. It was a night shift she'd been working, and just about to have a place of my own. And she said it felt like more of a nest than something that she's got to share a house with. So there's just those types of things. So you just got to put yourself in that as well. Look, I could go into lots of other stories and all of that, but you just want to, I guess, just think about it for your own situation. Now, what I'm putting up here is the top 5 reasons in my experience of why people don't buy. So this is when we're talking to them, and it might be people that are responding to surveys on social media, whatever it might be. The first one that comes up is don't have enough deposit to do so. The second one is they're waiting for the market to drop, and not all of these are valid, by the way, so I'm not going to say any more than that. Don't know how is a big one, and I'm hoping this series will go a long way towards that. Worried about repayments, and then the fifth one is, well, we're just saving for a larger home at the moment. So I'm going to visit some of these right now pretty quickly, obviously. So the first one is just in terms of the deposit, just clarify this. So there is still a myth, it's in the media, and it's sort of a bit of a myth from many years ago that you need a 20% deposit. Now, you as nurses don't need anywhere near that. All I've put up here is without paying lenders mortgage insurance, by the way, whole different topic, which we can get into. But you can start off with, for single parents, as little as a 2% deposit. And look, even if you're not a citizen, even if we can't get you in under some of the RN schedules. The maximum deposit you should pay is 15%. Generally speaking, for most of our clients, we can get you in for citizens under the First Home Guarantee Scheme, which is the 5%. And if failing that, if you're a permanent resident, for example, not a citizen, the 10%, we've got some great lenders that will still do that for RNs on a 10% deposit. Okay, so that just clarifies that one a little bit. Waiting for the market to drop. Very dangerous game in property, I have to say. Yes, okay, the market is a bit weak as I record this, but look, over time, you're fighting this battle. This is going back, July 1992. Should have done those maths in my head, about 30 years. And essentially, it just shows there it is, 30 years. I should have read that. It shows just how much prices have increased with houses and units. They're basically apartments over that time. Now, if you're trying to predict house prices to drop, you've got a real you're taking a big bet here, a big risk, and I go into lots of examples here. But some of you may recall when our friend COVID arrived on the shores, even the big banks were saying property would drop 20 to 30%. Do you know what happened? They went the opposite way completely. So nobody really knows in the short term. I can put almost everything on the line that over the long term everybody knows, and that's that prices do increase. So if you're waiting for the market to drop, it's a pretty dangerous one. And again, I've got lots of analysis on this, I won't go into it, but the market hardly ever drops any significant amount. Yeah, it might drop 5% for a year or something like that, maybe 10% if it's really bad. But the recovery on that and the longer term trend of that will wipe that and recover that very, very quickly. So even if you get that completely wrong, time is one thing that does look after you in property. Okay, worried about repayments. Fair enough too, like interest rates obviously are increasing. I've got a rule here is that I don't think this is going to happen, by the way, but I always like to assume that what if happens if interest rates hit 6%? To me, it's the absolute worst thing. I don't think they'll ever get to that. But even if they do, what I encourage clients to do is just to think about what their fortnightly repayments would be under different interest rate scenarios. If they're going into a variable rate fixed rate, we would definitely talk about as well. But here's some examples. So just to show you what this means, so we've got a $400,000 loan and the interest rate is 5%. So the repayments on that are $991 a fortnight. If the repayments went up to 6%, that would be an increase of just over $100 per fortnight. And that's the sort of thing you want to be looking at. So as I say, if you're using that 6% rule, it's really good to budget for that, because what you want to do, what you can do, is then make those your repayments and start to pay down your loan quicker anyway, which should be our objective when we purchase. So we can go into more of that with your own individual details, but that's sort of something you think about if you're worried about repayments. Just plan for the worst, and you'll be fine on that side. In terms of saving for a larger home, look, this is just remembering that your first home is not your last. A really important rule here. You're not going to buy your dream home as your first home. Let's just face that. And so that's a really important point. What it does, though, is it enables you to get through that hurdle, because your first home is the hardest one to buy because it's reliant on that deposit that I mentioned earlier. After that, there's a thing called equity that you build up in your existing property, and you use that to trade up. That's how people trade up in time. It's not by saving and putting aside or postponing the decision to buy your first home, saving for a bigger property. It's really getting into the market, getting through that hurdle, and using that equity in that property to trade up. Again, would work with you on that. We've had a lot of clients that do that. Okay, so that covers the should I buy it. In the next part of the series, we'll go through about knowing your economics, really setting that up for the plan in place and the 4 key questions that you want to know before you get into getting ready for it. You can contact me directly, got all my details, there they are. And I have to put up a legal disclaimer because none of this can be taken as personal advice. It's general advice only is the best way to sum up that legal disclaimer. We'll see you soon.